If you work for the Catholic Church and want to transform the culture of your parish and put more souls in the pews, we're here to help. I'm Thai Hua, here with my co-host Jon Cons, and this is the Catholic Ministry Professionals Podcast, your favorite leadership development podcast for Catholic churches. Each week you can expect engaging discussions, expert interviews, and actionable advice to help you move Jesus' mission forward in your parish. Today we're discussing why parish meetings feel pointless and how to fix them, why so many meetings drain the time and energy instead of creating momentum, and how to turn them into spaces where real decisions get made and ministry moves forward. Jon, how are you?
I'm good. It's been a while since we've been in the studio together.
Yeah, life.
It's busy, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's just nice to be together with you again. And next week we're recording in person, I believe, right? As long as nothing changes.
That's news to me because you were supposed to get back to me if we're doing it or not.
No. If I didn't say no, then it's a yes.
That is so wrong on so many levels.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll get better. Yeah. So today we're talking about a topic that I believe will be very interesting. It'll be exciting for a lot of our listeners because we've all been in that case. And I don't think this is unique to parish work. I think this is any office setting where you have a team of people that have to meet together regularly and you feel like you're slowly dying when you're sitting in your team meetings. So we're going to talk about avoiding death by meeting today, which is a book by Pat Lencioni. I recommend reading it. We're going to talk about how to avoid those awful meetings, how to work around those awful meetings, and even just how to create meetings instead of just meetings that we have to get through, meetings that actually build more momentum towards the mission, how we can get a little bit more done without having to overhaul everything and making it like just an exhausting exercise in what I want to say, like corporate strategy. Does that sound good?
It does. I have a funny story later about meetings.
Do you want to tell it now?
Kind of.
Go for it.
So, in a previous role as a sales guy, territory manager, I ended up working up the ranks, and then I became manager and overseeing my peers, which in and of itself had its own issues. But one of the complaints that we always had walking out of meetings was like, man, that meeting sucked. We sat there and talked. It was just small talk for 15 to 20 minutes, and then the rest of the meeting was forgettable. So I took that to heart, and when I became manager, it was, we got in, we did what we had to do, and we got out. So what was a 30 to 45-minute meeting went to like 5 minutes, right? So like these are weekly meetings that we had, and it was on your schedule. Don't book anything. Don't, think that you can get out of it. These are team meetings every week. Bank on it. Well, this new setup for a meeting that we had went on for probably 2 or 3 months. And then I think in one of our conversations with one of my good buddies that I started the role with, or at the company with, who I am now the manager of, she says to me, Ty, these meetings, like, it just doesn't seem like you care. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we get in, we save you time for your mornings. And as salespeople, we want to get back on the phones to sell the product. Like, that's why we're there. We're not there to chit chat. And she goes, well, you get in and you get right to work. There's no, how are you? There's no, what did you do over the weekend? I go, but I won't out her because she's local there to Northwest Iowa. But she's like, yeah, but it's so sterile. Like it's like you don't even care about our personal lives. I'm like, I do really care. I care so much that I don't want to hear about it, and I want to actually get you back on the phones to sell, to make a commission, to take money home to your family. But it's like, yeah, you have to have this balance of what's a good meeting and what's a bad meeting. And it's a very, very thin line.
What?
Come to find out.
And I would say it's something you're always going to be workshopping. You're always going to want to make that better. You always need to engage in active listening, so that you can receive feedback and move forward. And I think today is going to be a first good step in that direction for all of our Catholic ministry professionals.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So we want to make sure that at the end of today we have the opportunity like for our staff to leave and be aware of what's expected, who's responsible, what success looks like, how it all ties into the mission. And I believe that that's really the core component that helps us to turn our meetings from something that's just an exhausting exercise and deja vu into something that's more it fuels the fire a little bit more, and it transforms our meetings. It moves them from frustration into fruitfulness. And it doesn't take us like a total overhaul. These are just a few simple shifts. And so we always want to turn to scripture. And of course, there's always backing for this in scripture. And St. Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 40, to let all things be done decently and in order. And so for these meetings, sometimes we've got an order, but we want to make sure that it's not just orderly, but it's rightly ordered. And for us, this is going to breed some truth. It's going to breed some life. It's going to breed some renewal into the things we do, that it won't be disconnected from the mission, often the reason we got into this work in the first place, that our work doesn't become disconnected from that. And so it's about more than just having efficient meetings. It's about aligning our work with the mission that God has given us, so that even our planning becomes an act of prayer. It becomes an act of discernment, and becomes an act of our will to follow the Father's will. Amen?
Amen.
So here's the three things to consider when you're looking to fix your parish meetings. And the first, this is not new for us, but it's always to start with mission. Start with why, right? This is from that Simon Sinek book, Start With Why. We got to anchor our entire team in why we exist, why we're here. And that's obviously, it's always to make disciples, to bring people closer to Jesus. We have to anchor our meetings in that. And so often we might start with prayer. We might do the liturgy of the hours, morning prayer, something like that. And that is good. It connects us to God, but there has to be another deeper element where the leader, and that might be the pastor if they've got the gift for this. It might be the admin assistant if they've got the gift for it. It might be your faith formation director, whoever it is. Let the person who has that gift for connecting what we're doing to the mission speak into that space a little bit. Open with prayer, but then connect it to the mission. And I think even giving everybody the opportunity 1-2 minutes to explain how their work, the thing they're doing right now, connects to that mission to make disciples, to bring people closer to Jesus. Because what that does is it puts us all in the same boat, rowing the same direction, even if our work doesn't always overlap. It allows us to all see like, oh, all of these pieces, it's one body with many parts. And so we want to be able to have the opportunity to see that, to experience that, to hear from other people, especially when there can be personality conflicts on our teams. And it's really easy to think like this person's focused on the wrong things all the time, when we're not personally in that mode of like, we're not personally in their works. We don't always see the connect in the same way that they do. So that I think that in itself, starting with mission and giving people the opportunity to speak how their work ties to the mission, giving everybody the opportunity to really see that as one large whole, as the many parts again of the one body.
So then are you saying that every meeting, like, you'll go around table, or I'm not following, I'm not tracking.
Yeah, well, I think most of our parish staffs, they're small staffs, most, especially here in rural Iowa where we're at. So if there's opportunity for everybody to take a moment to do that. I'm not saying that's the best, that's always the way that people want to do it too. Another awesome way to do this, if you want to shake it up, would be to have the pastor go around and say, like, I see the mission alive at you here, and I experienced that this week. Like, if the pastor can come with, if he's paid attention to his staff, to the people on the team and the work that they're doing, he should have noticed something that week that ties into like the mission and something beautiful. If he's going to the faith formation events, he'd be like, wow, Ethel, I saw you up there. I saw you sharing your faith. But what was even more profound for me was when you spent that 15 minutes after the event and you were just with that one family, talking to them and speaking into them, into the difficult moment they're having. Maybe they just had a grandparent that passed away and you're sharing stories. Those opportunities to really tie them into like, this is the mission. Like, that's where the real relationships were built. To be able to point to, Ethel number 2 at the front desk and to say, This person came in and they were just looking for a handout, but you took the next step forward and you actually sat with them and you talked with them and you prayed with them. And this was a person that you could tell there was a real spiritual loneliness there. And you tried to meet them with the love of Christ. To be able to pull out those moments and bring those, like, yes, it could be round robin. It could also be the pastor or someone else who really, again, has that gift for calling out the mission in people, for identifying and giving voice to the mission. I think that can be a really beautiful way to share it. So it's not like it's like cut and dried. Like this is not like we're going to tell you exactly how to do it, cookie cutter kind of framework. But these are the main pieces, and to kind of spend some time with your people figuring out what's the best way for us as a team to follow this through, to find a way to start with mission in the context of our meetings.
Sure.
Number two, the second thing to do, have a mission oriented goal in mind. Now, you're not going to maybe just show up at the meeting and have the goal, but your team should have some kind of rhythm and a process for identifying mission oriented goals and objectives that clearly advance discipleship and parish renewal. There has to be a rhythm for that. And if you need help establishing that rhythm, we have a ministry leadership workshop that we do run with parish teams to help them identify goals and then put in place, like, identify the goals and then identify the things that need to be done, the to-do list items, the conversations that need to be had, and the process changes that need to be put in place, and as well as developing the accountability. And that's going to be our third step here, is the accountability that you're going to need to have in place in order to do that. So if you're interested in having Catholic ministry professionals out to do a workshop with your leadership team, you can find us at catholicministryprofessionals.com. Shoot us a message. We'll hop on the phone with you for free, and we'll do a free discovery call to see if it's a good fit for you and for your team. That said, what you need to have before you meet is have clarified one thing that you need to accomplish that moves the mission forward. Okay? You need to have that in mind. So that when you show up that day to that meeting, like, yes, you're going to have some of the meeting soup that happens in your meetings, things that the pastor needs to discuss before the weekend or before the fall festival kicks off or before Lent starts or whatever it is. You're going to have some of that stuff, but there also should be a focus on, like, hey, there's this roadblock that we have in our parish that we need to overcome in order to move the mission forward, to take our people deeper in order to make more disciples. And so you want to be able to ask this question and have an answer, like, what do we need to accomplish today to move the mission forward? And that becomes an opportunity for real conversation and even some healthy conflict, because you might have the liturgy director saying, I need this to happen, but I need this approval from you, Father. You might have the formation director saying, well, I need this to happen, but I'm having trouble getting this room reserved to be able to kickstart this initiative, whatever it might be. What that allows us to do is to keep everyone aligned and ensure that the meeting produces tangible results that we can see, that we can measure in real time, that we can follow through on as we go forward, rather than just a list of hopes and dreams, a list of good intentions. It would be nice if this happened. No. It's what is the thing we need to tackle today as a team to make that happen? And there's that one question that we've talked about in the past, which is for everybody to ask, for the pastor, the leader of the meeting, to ask, what do you need from the other people on the team today, this week, in order to get your job done? Because that, again, it's another kind of an inversion of the same conversation. It allows everybody to think about how we work together as a team toward this one goal that unites us all.
Yeah, and what I love about that is you're not siloing individual departments, if you will. You're one cohesive team, right? So it's not a me versus the liturgy team or whatever, or me and this ministry team. It's us as one parish working together for the benefit of our mission, which is making disciples. So I think that's a really, really cool distinction that I just wanted to point out. Again, you're not against each other. You're working together for the purpose of the success of that parish. And I think I'll make one correction that you said is you'll have those confrontations. I wouldn't even call them confrontations, because then it pits you against one another. I would say that it's more of a complication, right?
Oh, I
Hey,
like that.
we tend to butt heads for this one particular room on this particular week. Is there any way maybe I'll ask my people if a different day or a different time works so that we can work together to facilitate better communication versus just saying, no, I need that room for my people. Your people can wait, right?
Mm.
It's a subtle difference in just the words that we use, but it's so important, it's so profound.
Yeah, that's huge. Complication, not confrontation.
Exactly.
Complication, not conflict, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. We're trying to row the same direction. I love it.
Yes.
All right. And that leads us to number 3, to establish a rhythm of accountability. And this is the idea that every meeting should build momentum for the next one. This idea that when we've ended our meeting by defining who's responsible for this task item, who's responsible for connecting to this person, who's responsible for overseeing this process that we're working on, what are the next steps and when will they be done, right? It's very clear, like it's very linear. Who's responsible, what are the next steps, and when will they be done? What that allows us to do is start the next meeting by reviewing the process and seeing if they got done. If not, why not? Where are the bottlenecks that happen in our process, in our system? And this creates a really healthy accountability. Again, this isn't an opportunity to call each other out and beat each other up. It creates real healthy accountability where someone realizes, you know what, I've been given more than I can handle. I need help. And that allows the team to step in and think, again, not conflict, right? Complication. How do we fix this complication? And that keeps the team's focus on movement, not maintenance, right? So we want to move the mission forward. And over time, this rhythm becomes part of the culture. It's a culture of clarity, of ownership, and growth. And that's something we want to see in our parishes. We want our parishes to be places that are intentional, clear about our goals, that are clear about the ownership, who's in charge of what, but also intentional about growing. That is absolutely necessary, because if you're not growing, you're dying. We need to be places of growth. I think that if you keep these 3 things in mind, especially this rhythm of accountability at the end, and you can't forget that, because if there's no accountability, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy and nice to think in terms of, yeah, this is what we want to do, but actually implementing this is the toughest part, because nobody wants to be held accountable. Nobody wants to have their feet held to the fire, because that's what it seems like. But in all actuality, it's like we're just trying to get stuff done. We're trying to be more intentional with what we're trying to do. But if you're not doing your part, we're not able to attain the things that we want to attain, right? Like the analogy that I always use is like a sports team. Well, if you're expecting your linemen on your football team to block and you run the play, they don't block, you go back to the huddle, you don't say, okay, let's try to run that play again. No, you say, dude, you need to block for me. Otherwise, none of this works. We're going to be 3 and out, maybe even 1 and out if I fumble the ball, if the quarterback gets sacked, or if the running back gets stuffed in the backfield and he fumbles the ball. None of it works if you don't do your job. And it goes back to the old Bill Belichick days. Do your job. That's it. Do your job. And if you can't do your job, well, okay, bring it to the meeting. Hey, I can't do my job. I can't block the guy that I'm supposed to block because I'm getting double teamed. Can somebody help me out? Okay, yeah, let's bring in another blocker for you. It's easy as that. It's a simple analogy, but it proves a point. It drives the point home that we have to work together, and the accountability is so important to be able to do that.
Yeah, and and the caveat I'd throw in there is that in the parish setting, I wouldn't just default to the pastor leading accountability, because not only do we not want our feet held to the fire, we're in the Midwest here, Ty, and there's such a thing as Midwest nice, and can be a very passive aggressive culture where you said you're going to do something, so I'm just going to trust you to do it. But I'm not going to call you out on it because I don't want to inconvenience you. I don't want to make it uncomfortable for us. And I think sometimes we can default to the pastors. Our pastors can be great priests, but they might not have all the skills for administration, right? They might not have a gift for administration. And so that's something we want to consider. And here's, I guess, the little hack that I'd give you is there's a great resource from the Table Group. Again, Pat Lencioni. They have their 6 types of working genius, and anybody can take the test. It's like $20. It's a pretty low barrier entry, but it's going to tell you what your gifts are. And on the team, someone's probably going to have this gift for holding people accountability. And I forget what their 6 types are, but there's always somebody on the team that actually has a gift for saying like, hey, you said you were going to do this. Can you follow up? It's just a detail oriented person. It's not like it's their job to chase people down. They don't need to be a jerk and beat people over the head. But if they're comfortable and they have a gift for managing details and holding people to that, you want that person to be in charge of this element. Hey, last week you said you were going to have this conversation with this person. Did you do it? No. Okay, I need you to do that. Like, do it today. Get on the horn today. Call that person. Let me know when you're done. I'm going to follow up with you. And it's not, again, it's not people being mean. It's just basic accountability.
Mhm.
And give the person who has the gift for that, who has a comfort, who actually gets it, actually like fills their cup to be able to have that relationship dynamic, let them do it. And I think that that'll give our teams a lot more freedom, but also like it'll breathe life into it, because you'll be seeing that momentum happen because the person with the gift, the skill for it is now in charge of seeing it through.
Yeah, but even one step further, going back to the 4 Disciplines of Execution book, they actually say to have that cadence of accountability. And what that is, and you kind of mentioned it too, but it's like, okay, last week I said I was going to do X. I did this. And if you fell short, why did you fall short? If you hit it, great, let's celebrate that. And then what are you doing this week? Right. So
Mhm.
it's, you're calling yourself out before anybody has the opportunity to call you out. Because when somebody else calls you out, it's different than when you say, hey guys, I messed up. I did not get this done. And here's why. Even if the reason why is it slipped my mind, right? There's only so many times that you're going to use that in a meeting before your coworkers are going to say, hey, like, why are you
We,
not
we
doing what you're saying
yeah,
you're going to do? Like,
we need more from
yeah, we need more from you. How can we help?
you.
Right?
Mhm.
This is not a blaming party. This is not a shaming party. This is a let's get it done party. And if you're not getting it done, let's figure out why.
Absolutely. All right. And I think with that, we can move on to the devil's advocate. Dun dun.
John, honestly, I'm not sure it matters what we do in meetings anymore. Nothing ever changes anyway. So who cares?
That feeling is real, actually. you know, have you ever felt that way, Ty?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. Why does it matter if I do this anyway? It's not going to change. And what happens is that I think this is what happens when our meetings become disconnected from the mission, is what I should say. I really think that that's why we want to start with mission, because it sets the bar, it sets the standard, it sets the stage for why this matters. Before we even talk about any of the stuff that we need to do, why does what we're going to talk about next matter? Even if it's some of the things that don't connect to you particularly, it's gonna set the stage for why this all connects. And the truth is that I don't change isn't going to come from one big overhaul. It comes from the small, consistent actions. So that's why we're just giving you some simple, consistent things that you can do that don't mean you have to restructure everything, but instead a simple structuring around mission, goal, and accountability. And you'll begin to see those small wins. And over time, that's going to shape your culture. We have a tendency to think that culture is the thing that we define that we want to be, but culture is actually the things that you do. Culture is the way you behave. That's your culture. And so like compounding interest, like fruit that grows over time, changing those small actions of the ways we behave, the ways we think, the things that we do, that will slowly change our culture over time. But we have to start by focusing on what we can control. And when people see movement, then they want to be a part of that. And that's how renewal starts. One step at a time, one simple change at a time, one evolution at a time, one transition at a time. All right. Of course, we never want to leave you without something that you can take action on today from our conversation. So the first thing I want you to do is to just schedule into your next team meeting a mission focus. You are going to begin, you're going to say, Father, I'd like to lead the next meeting And I'd like to start with prayer, but focusing our clarity on mission. And even starting that conversational question by asking, how does what we're discussing today help us to move the mission forward? So volunteer to be that person, lead that conversation and that question, and see how it changes the overall dynamic of your meeting. And then the second thing I want to encourage you to do is to consider bringing in Catholic ministry professionals to run a workshop with your team. Will help you establish clear mission-oriented goals and build simple systems for accountability that make your meetings more effective, more spirit-led, more missional. And so you can book a discovery call today at catholicministryprofessionals.com and start that conversation about how we can help your parish move from frustration and into renewal.
Amen.
And
Amen.
with that, I want to thank you for listening. If you found today's conversation helpful, don't let it be just another good idea. Text this episode to a friend, a priest, or a fellow staff member and start the conversation about how you can make your parish meetings more mission focused. And always visit us at catholicministryprofessionals.com to move from frustration to renewal today.
And with that, we'll see you in the vineyard.